in December of 2004, and it was a hotbed for Al-Qaeda. They had no difficulty recruiting anybody who wanted to serve, to fight against the United States. Anybody from the United States. And they were continually bringing up the actions of U.S. forces in 2003 as their excuse and recalcitrance. I worked with local sheikhs for that year in and around a small place called Habaniya, just outside of Fallujah. And in January of 2006, I was driving from my camp towards the Camp Fallujah. You had to actually go through the city of Fallujah when the group of Marines that I was traveling with, my personal security detachment, was attacked with a vehicle-borne IED, several thousand pounds of explosives, and then caught in a complex ambush. Fortunately, only 2 Marines were wounded. We fought our way out of it. And other than severe chastising by the commanding general I worked for at the time, life went on. I went back to Iraq in 2009 and 10. My job was, at that point, to establish governance and economics. One of the very first visits I made to one of the tribal sheikhs, one of the, what they call the paramount sheikhs, sheikh generals, I was getting a tour around the house after a long meeting, after a full meal, and after great friendship between myself and the sheikh. And I looked over and I saw the spot, the road, about 500 meters where I had been attacked in 2006. And I looked at the house and looked at the road and did all the back azimuths, and that moment, being as sporty as it was somewhat seared into my brain housing group. And I realized that the wall that I was looking over this way now was the wall I had been shooting at in the other direction, short 3 years earlier. So I asked the sheikh, I said, "Sheikh, I think you tried to kill me in 2006. He said, "Ah, yes, General, but it was a much different time. You had killed the people of Fallujah, and we had not come to understand that you were here to help. We thought you were here to dominate us and everything we were about." That one moment by one soldier, a failure of moral courage, cost unknown numbers of lives and cost huge investment simply to create the environment for what was the awakening and the tribal sheikhs to understand the true mission of Marines and soldiers, sailors and airmen in Iraq. So what does that mean for us? Well, I'd say it comes down to this. That leader, whoever he was, failed to consistently embrace the values that we hold most dear: honor, courage, and commitment. Those who fail have betrayed the sacred trust, that trust between the leader and the led that was articulated by General Lejeune many years ago. Leading Marines and sailors, as you will, in the service of our nation is an honor and a privilege. It's indeed a higher calling. It's a privilege each of you have signed on to by beginning your second-class year. I remember very well my first class of my second-class year when Lieutenant Commander Jackson came into our class and said, "Gentlemen, welcome to the fleet." And we all looked at him quizzically and said, "You will either pay attention in my class and be officers, or you won't, and you will serve as enlisted men." But he understood that that commitment had taken place for us, that we had committed to finishing what we had begun. So tonight I welcome you to the fleet. I challenge each of you to keep your honor clean, to embrace high standards of moral character while on watch, to hold each other accountable, and to imbue the finest sense of honor, courage, and commitment in both yourselves and those you lead, and to hold your leaders accountable to do the same. You see, the true test of the leader is the performance and the standards he sets in those he leads. And actually, Vince Lombardi probably said it best. He said, "The strength of the group is in the strength of the leader." Each and every one of you needs to take on that role of strength coach, of moral character. You need to understand that it's your job. If you're successful, you will find no more satisfying profession than leading sailors and Marines. If you fail, your life, the lives of those you lead, will be in peril. I'll leave you with a quote from a more recent naval hero, a Naval Academy graduate. It punctuates the imperative of moral character. After his return home from 7 years as a POW, Admiral Stockdale said this: "We can't always control the circumstances we find ourselves in, but we can always control how we respond to them. Your moral character will give you the most effective control on how you respond to the crises you will face in the future." I would like to thank each and every one of you for your service. I would like to thank you for your commitment to our nation in a time of war. And I would like to thank you for the legacy that you will leave behind in the years of success I know you will enjoy in the years ahead. God bless each and every one of you, and Semper Fidelis.
Please be seated. Powerful words, and ones that we all need. He might have been targeting the midshipmen, but I think we all had something to take away from what General Wissler said. Sir, what we'd like to present you with is a compass. We consider it the moral compass from the Stockdale Center for Ethical Leadership. And considering some of the challenges you have, maybe if you put it right in the middle of your desk there at the Pentagon, it'll keep you on track, but I'm not sure you need this to do that because you're a great man. Thank you. Before we proceed to the awards, there are two other individuals. The NE 203 instructors have been recognized, and again, we appreciate what you do investing in these midshipmen. But two other individuals that provide the leadership within the Department of Leadership, Ethics, and Law to make sure the course goes as it's designed. And one of those is Captain Steve Traynor. I think Steve is there. Steve, thank you for what you do. Steve has been the department chairman for Leadership, Ethics, and Law, and he's now the director of the Leadership, Education, and Development Division. And the other one is the course director for NE 203, the distinguished military professor of ethics, Captain Rick Rubel, who also is back there. Rick, thank you. And even though this lady is not here today, I promised I was going to mention her because Dr. Betsy Holmes, who's a member of the Stockdale staff, is actually going to be retiring at the end of this month. She's with her daughter in Peru, vacationing, and she certainly deserves it. But Betsy has made an incredible impact on ethical leadership, thought, and development here at the Naval Academy, going all the way back to 1995 when she was the department chairman of Leadership, Ethics, and Law when she was on active duty, and then became a resident fellow at the center, and then eventually continued on as a director within the center. And again, in her absence, this was the last opportunity to mention it publicly, the difference she's made here at the Naval Academy. So Betsy, in the mountains of Peru, we do salute you as well. Now, let me tell you the process for the awards that we hand out. Midshipmen in this moral reasoning class, every single one of them write a lot of essays, right? Like every week, if I remember the process. And at the end of all of this, each NE 203 instructor nominates one individual who has an essay that's above the others. And that group of essays then goes into the philosophers within the Department of Leadership, Ethics, and Law, who then evaluate those and then narrow down each semester to about 5 to 7 essays that are in the competition for what we celebrate tonight. And then we actually have outside panelists make the final judgment on who the winners will be, so we can't blame anybody within the academy. We blame it on people outside of the academy if anybody has a complaint. No, I'm kidding. But we want to include others who can participate in this. The 3 outside readers, the first one was Vice Admiral Jim Metzger, United States Navy retired, former 7th Fleet commander, and assistant to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and currently the vice president for business development at SAIC. He's not here with us tonight, but he was one of the readers. A second was Dr. William Shaw, professor of philosophy from San Jose State University in California, and a Stockdale Fellow this past year. He also could not join us, but was a reader. Dr. Linda Martinek, the Assistant Director of Continuing Professional Education at Anne Arundel Community College and a Senior Adjunct Professor at the University of Baltimore, was our third reader, and I believe Linda is here tonight. Linda, are you here? There you are. Thank you. So just like General Wissler said, we always have checklists. So the checklist for tonight on actually presenting these awards are as follows. Each recipient is going to get a letter, and I'm going to read the first letter, and all the other letters are fairly similar, so I'm just going to name the individuals after that initial letter. When your name is read, if you would come on up, and I'm going to ask General Wissler and Admiral Miller to join me up here, if you would shake both of their hands, because they're up there to congratulate you, and then we're going to take a picture with General Wissler, Admiral Miller, myself, and you. And then you go back to your seat, and we will cheer for you. But that's what each person is to do. So let me begin the reading, and Admiral Miller and General Wissler, if you would come on up. There's 2 semesters of this course, so there's a group from the first semester and the second. I'll be reading the finalists in alphabetical order and then presenting the 2 award winners. So this is a letter of commendation. It says, I commend you for your outstanding contribution to the ethics essay competition. And in this case, this is for Steve Billmeyer. And his paper was called The Evolution of Just War Theory. Your paper was selected by a panel of distinguished experts as a finalist from a field of over 400 entries submitted by students in NE 203 during the fall 2010 semester. Your achievement is a testament to both your academic ability and understanding of the ethical implications of service in the United States Navy and Marine Corps. I applaud your commitment to excellence and appreciate your drive to prepare yourself morally and mentally to lead sailors and Marines. Congratulations and best wishes in all your future endeavors. Signed, A.J. Athens, Director, Stockdale Center for Ethical Leadership. So Steve, if you would come on up to receive that. Again, congratulations. So again, I'm not going to read the entire letter. Same letter, I'll mention the person's name and the essay that they wrote. The second finalist was Thomas Cleary, and his paper was Safer Soldiers. Great job. Now, we actually have someone who's not with us tonight because he was an Air Force Academy exchange cadet when he actually was taking NE 203. We're very happy because that means some of this honor, courage, commitment will find its way to Colorado Springs, and that will be good for them. Frederick Feigl is his name, and the name of his paper was The Ethical Considerations of Using Unmanned Aerial Vehicles. The next finalist is Midshipman Second Class Laura Gorinsky, and her paper was entitled Ethics in Afghanistan, Negotiating with the Taliban. Laura. The next finalist is Midshipman Second Class Jeremy Orton, and his paper was A Deal with the Devil, The Morality of Peace Talks with the Taliban. Midshipman Second Class Andrew Polmeno, his paper was High Value Targets and Collateral Damage, When to Draw the Line. Andrew. Next finalist is Midshipman Second Class James Russell with the paper Don't Ask, Don't Tell, A Harmful Exclusion. James. Okay. We will hand deliver that to him. Next finalist is Midshipman Second Class Audrey Stiles with a paper entitled A Touchy Subject. And now we have our two finalists, the winners of this year's ethics essay contest. The first one is Midshipman Second Class Robert Crutcher, and his paper was entitled The Legacy of Westphalia, Just War Theory of the 21st Century. And Robert will receive Tennessee Patriot, which is a biography about Admiral Lawrence, an autobiography. A wonderful autobiography. I was telling Mrs. Lawrence that it's one of the books that I actually read on a frequent basis because it has such wonderful stories about honor, courage, and commitment. And there's a plaque that goes with it. But most importantly, probably, to the midshipmen is there's a nice check that's involved with the winning of this contest as well, so he will have that as well. So Midshipman Second Class Crutcher, please come on up. And the Spring Award winner is Midshipman Second Class Joshua Highland, and his paper was entitled Cold Steel. Come on up. Congratulations. You get the same thing. That's it, sir. Thank you. What I'd like to do in closing is I would like to thank three special people from the Stockdale Center who make this possible, along with the Admiral's protocol staff. One is Ms. Marge Bem in the back, who's our senior staff associate. I'd like to give her a hand. Ms. Jacqueline Dana in the back sitting next to her, who also assisted with tonight's event. And Lieutenant Commander Mike Rack, who's the deputy of the Stockdale Center. I'm not sure where he's sitting. Right there. Thank you, Mike. And as we depart tonight, I have one final thought, because I always like to tie it back to Admiral Lawrence, because he is a hero, certainly to the class of '81, but all who knew him. I've been recently reading a book called Washington's Crossing, which is about the campaign in the Revolutionary War in 1776, and about George Washington's leadership. And I've read a lot about George Washington over the years, but this book really captures in a wonderful way this man's leadership and character. And what's so striking is the trust that he had to build with a very diverse army, with a continental Congress that was arguing amongst itself, and the local population in the battle zone. And he did it all with trust. And he only was able to develop that trust because of his own integrity. He was a man of integrity, and everyone recognized that and was drawn to him. Even the people who didn't like him that much. Thomas Jefferson did not like George Washington. Thomas Jefferson argued with George Washington over many, many things. But there's something that Thomas Jefferson said about George Washington that I think is remarkable. Thomas Jefferson said, George Washington errs, E-R-R-S, errs like all men do, but he always errs with integrity. When I read that quote about George Washington, I thought about Admiral Lawrence. Because I'm sure Diane could share some stories that he did make mistakes, not very often, but every once in a while. But he was a man who I think also could have that same quote attributed to. He errs like all men do, but he always errs with integrity. And I think as we walk out of here, if that could be our desire in life, that we would be known as someone, yes, they err, just like all people do, but they always err with integrity. General Wissler, thank you again for being with us. I know you have a busy and demanding schedule, but God will redeem the time that you have spent with us. And I wish you all the very best. I thank you for the midshipmen that have poured so much into this course, those who have instructed them, and those who lead the instructors, and those who lead the academy, Admiral Miller, the Commandant, the Dean, and the rest. So God bless you and have a great evening. Thank you for being with us.